Joshua Tree, who won a Royal Lodge and won a couple of Canadian internationals, initially for Aidan O'Brien and then for Mark Botti and Ed Dunlop. So, yeah, look, he's another very interesting horse, and he looks well. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on.
And we saw Fastnet Rock filly winning the opening race. We've got a newcomer by Fastnet Rock representing Jim Bolger here. We might take a closer look at her on the way to Post Global Crossing, but she's an interesting one. Also qualified for the +10 bonus in a race where, Alex, we're expecting Toronto to be very difficult to beat, but I suggest the market is probably telling us as much.
Yeah, so in saying that, he is only just odds on. He was even money, touched 10 to 11, 9 to 10 now, the price about Toronto. And because of that, Arthur's Kingdom, 7 to 4, 15 to 8 is now out to 2 to 1. It's all about those two in the market. 8 to 1 Global Crossing. Lougher is at 10s, and the King of Kells is priced up at 50 to 1. Will we get another sniff of even money? He's just gone 5 to 6, the latest price about Toronto, heading down towards the start. And here we can see the horse in the purple cap, same purple cap towards the back of the field. Now, you've heard the boys put the sort of meat on the bones of the form. The winner is in front, Mohican Heights. The grey, Lil Grey is on the inside. She travelled well. She actually travelled really well and dropped back to sprinting on her next start and duly won that race that Dom was talking about at the Curragh. So I think it's fair to say, you know, just possible positioning played a part here. Maybe the cream rose to the top, but maybe it really did help to be forward. The winner made all, the second was always in a good position, and you can see steady, the Galileo colt Toronto, having been held up further back in the field. He probably wasn't forward enough to do himself justice anyway, and obviously here he is, second time stepping up in trip. He's got milers in his family, but he's got Galileo as his dad, so feeling is that he's going to relish the step up in trip tonight from 7 to a mile on the back of that.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, there he is, just arriving down at the start. 5 to 4 on. Arthur's Kingdom is stablemate at 2 to 1. Global Crossing was the one we were just talking about there as the runners went out of the parade ring. Jim Bolger's filly, who makes her racecourse debut today, homebred, family that Jim Bolger knows very well indeed, and the sire already amongst the winners here this evening. An interesting one. These Thursday nights at Leopardstown, Jim Bolger in particular seems to have a great affinity with those, and Flight Risk, of course, has won the feature event at the last 2 Leopardstown Thursday evening fixtures, and certainly an interesting debutant. We can see Global Crossing there making her way to the post. She's a powerful looking filly, isn't she? Yeah, she's a nice looking filly, Gary, and as you say, she's all Jim Bolger. She's even her dam's dam is a sister to Cush Goira. So look, Jim Bolger trains, bred, his wife Jackie owns her. So look, yeah, and she's a lovely looking filly. She's, you know, there's not a lot of racecourse evidence to go on here. Only 2 of the 5 runners have run, and she's well bred, as you say, by Fastnet Rock, and a nice filly who she's nice and relaxed there on her way to the start. She was nice and relaxed in the paddock beforehand. So yeah, she could run a race. She is relatively easy to back though at 9 to 1, with only the 50 to 1 poke, the King of Kells, below her in the pecking order. Mick Mulvaney's runner. Mick had a good winner with Ideal Pal at Sligo the other night. Lougher is at 8 to 1. That's the only one we haven't just touched upon. Richard O'Brien's debutant. Colin Keane on board, who's had a good evening so far. 2 winners and a second already for the former champion. And to be stoutly bred, Don, you can understand, certainly on the pedigree, why she's starting off over a mile here. And Colin, of course, rode Dean Street Dull for Richard to run very well in the Irish 1000 Guineas earlier on in the season. She's another one, whatever happens today, I'm sure she's going to improve, but the fact that Keane is booked, and there is a little bit of a nibble for her now, 7 from 8 here on track, she's noteworthy. Yeah, exactly. No, looking forward to seeing Dean Street Dull. I think she was a 50 to 1 shot in the Irish Guineas and finished 5th. So yeah, looking forward to seeing where she goes next. But yeah, this filly, her dam's a half sister to Centennial, who won a great voltager. So lots of stamina there, and obviously also to Siren Song, who won a Salsable Stakes with Jessica Harrington. So there's good middle distance pedigree there. And by Teofilo, you'd expect that she'll probably want further than a mile in time. But at the same time, it's a good trip. It's a good race for her racecourse debut. Right, they are loading up the stalls then, and having been on her best behaviour up to this point. Global Crossing just a little bit reluctant about going forward initially. The stalls handlers offering plenty of encouragement. Have her in now. I think we've only maybe got 2 left to go in for this Irish Stallion Farm CBF maiden. Let's rejoin Jerry.
Irish CBF maiden +10. White flag up. They're off. Toronto broke smartly. Leads on the inside the King of Kells with a couple of lengths to Global Crossing. Arthur's Kingdom on the outside of lougher as they race the end of the first furlong. The King of Kells has gone up on the inside of Toronto, followed by Global Crossing, and then Arthur's Kingdom and lougher. Continuing down the back straight in the Irish EBF maiden, +10 race, and it's Toronto, purple and white of Emmett McNamara on the outside of the King of Kells and Gary Carroll. Little to choose between the pair in front of Global Crossing and Kevin Manning. Then Arthur's Kingdom, Michael Hussey in company with lougher and Colin Keane. As they reach the 4 furlong point, the halfway stage, Toronto on the outside of the King of Kells, 2 lengths back to Global Crossing, and then lougher and Arthur's Kingdom. 3.5 furlongs to go, and very little changes in the order of running. Toronto shows half a length in front of the King of Kells, a little over a length then to in third Global Crossing, and then lougher and Arthur's Kingdom. 3 furlongs to go as they approach the straight, and Toronto has shaken off the attentions of the King of Kells, then Global Crossing. Looking for racing room is lougher and then Arthur's Kingdom. Off the home turn with 2 furlongs to go. And it's Toronto opening up a 4-length advantage as Arthur's Kingdom has gone off in pursuit of his stable companion, but has plenty of ground to make up. And then Global Crossing, lougher, the King of Kells has dropped right back, but it's Toronto and Emmett McNamara out in front with in second place Arthur's Kingdom, then lougher and Global Crossing. And racing into the closing stages, it is Toronto and Emmett McNamara winning cheekily by a length. Arthur's Kingdom second, 1-2 for Aidan O'Brien. Third is lougher, fourth is Global Crossing, and last of the 5, the King of Kells.
One, 2 for Aidan O'Brien. Then the favourite has won, Toronto. It was an interesting race to watch, though, despite only containing 5 runners and a bit of incident in behind the eventual winner. He scored by a diminishing margin in the end, Don, and Arthur's Kingdom has run on very well, but I think in fairness Emmett McNamara was just going through the motions. He was keeping a close eye on proceedings on the big screen, I think, and knew he always had this under control. That said, the second and third, this incident here, both of these have shown promise in a race that wouldn't exactly have been ideal for them on the racecourse debut, because it was a bit of argy-bargy, and as we saw there, Arthur's Kingdom took a full step.
Yeah, he stumbled. That was obviously significant, Gary, especially for a newcomer. It's a real momentum halter. It checked his progress. Michael Hussey was just kind of moving him to the outside, and it didn't look like he clipped heels, though. He just seemed like he just took a false step for some reason, maybe switching direction, changing his legs maybe on the bend. But he's run on very well. But look, yeah, as you say, I think Emmett McNamara, he's just having a look under his shoulder there. He's fully aware how close his rival is, his stable companion. He's just eased up close home, and Arthur's Kingdom's got close to him. But yeah, I think he won with a little bit more in hand than the fair winning margin.
Obviously the second will improve. I'm not saying there isn't a chance that the second could be the better horse in time, but the winner certainly not asked for anything like maximum effort in the closing stages. See from the stalls, it was a relatively level break. Colin Keane took back on lougher, who was green and seemed to jump that road crossing, which is something you often get from inexperienced horses here. And if anything, that lit her up a little bit. She raced somewhat with the choke out after that. Arthur's Kingdom was taken back after the start, kept their company towards the rear, while the 2 horses with experience, as you would have expected, went forward. King of Kells and the eventual winner, Toronto. And Emmett McNamara pretty much takes the bull by the horns from this point on, but it's the 2 at the back that we're paying close attention to. Difficult really to ascertain what happened, but I think they might have just had a coming together, and the 2 horses then we see in the straight, lougher ends up very short of room. Colin Keane has to snatch up, and she runs on well when it's all over.
Yeah, like she's a bit keen there, just in behind, but it is interesting that the 2, as you say, like Toronto is very quickly into his stride, and it's only 1 run he's had. He's just more experienced by one reason. Like that's a significant stumble on lougher as well. I hadn't really spotted lougher until you said it. Yeah. And
that's the moment then she just gets put in the pocket.
Yeah, and then Colin Keane has to take back again and wait for the rival of Arthur's Kingdom to go on before he can let her lengthen. But no, look, the winner has done everything professionally. He's got into the right position. He's just been smooth as silk the whole way down the back straight. Whereas, as you said, double crossing, she jumped the path as well a little bit. Seemed to just have a look at it at least, had a little bit of a stare and see what it was, just a change in terrain under her feet. And she just had a little bit of a look at it, and she's a bit green in the home straight as well. But Arthur's Kingdom, after that stumble, he's done well to get back on an even keel and to run on as well as he did. And look, it never looked like he was going to get to the winner. I'm sure Michael Hussey didn't think that he was going to get to the winner, but he still run on nicely.
Yes, McNamara, first of all, he had a look behind, and then, as I say, he was keeping an eye on things on the big screen, which is something we see regularly.